All right. Record button was hit. We are recording. JML here. Charlie somewhere over there. Fire Frank below. This is, I don't even know the name of our show anymore. What are we naming this show?
These are back in times.
These are back in
Back in
times.
times.
Back in time. 1993. Halloween Havoc 1993. 10/24/93 to be exact. Frank has a coaster of the pay-per-view
It's
poster.
our title card for today.
Look at that. Look at the beast Vader.
That coat was pretty sweet he had on there too.
Thank you to the fans who voted and wanted us to review this. So
Yes, thanks guys.
I kind of rigged it. I rigged the poll.
You rigged the poll like
I rigged it. Yeah.
Unlike WCW did for the year before for the spin the wheel, and they didn't rig it.
Yeah, I loaded it to make sure that this one, kind of like a Taboo Tuesday, Cyber Sunday
Right.
poll. New Orleans, Louisiana, on commentary, really underrated team of Shivani and Jesse.
Yeah.
I don't think that team's talked about enough. Jesse the Ventura, let's leave politics out of it. He was a really good heel commentator, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Always enjoyed his stuff. And you're right, he had great chemistry with Shivani, great with Gorilla, obviously, too.
He was even good with McMahon because he would rib McMahon like no other on commentary.
Yeah, he would just take a crap all over Vince every time.
So they have the really odd opening with
this thing.
the mansion with Shivani.
The minute you told me you were
scared stupid.
Shivani's acting is tremendous in this video. You guys have to see
so
this.
Good.
Please go on Peacock Network and check this out.
We need to put this video up.
Find it, YouTube it, Peacock, whatever you got to do.
Fantastic.
I'll put it in the description. It's
I think the minute you told me we were doing this show,
used, content, I've had to trim it down.
Yeah,
and it's such a cluster because then it gets copyright stricken, and
yeah, we don't want to have a talent meeting and complain how WWE tampering with our shows.
Well, literally, which was funny. AEW approved my use of the copyright, and then WWE, I had to trim almost the whole thing out, and then it got approved. So,
oh shit.
Yeah, it is what it is at this point. I'll just start ad-libbing the scenes myself if I have to, just like Bash at the Beach, where I did the whole promo between Okerlund and Hogan. I the funniest thing, and I don't know if you guys caught this, Jesse is like a doctor in Shivani's Jesse, and he's like, "What kind of doctor are you?" He's like, "I'm the greatest gynecologist."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man!" And then Shivani's like holding back, like just uncontrollable laughter, and they have to cut away. And then you see the front row people that hear Ventura, and they just lose it. Some old lady in the stands just is cracking up. You guys got to watch the open. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of opens, can you tell me on a card that is loaded with Hall of Fame talent, and even this match has some Hall of Fame talent, that they would open with Harlem Heat when they were known as Cole and Kane?
Yeah.
And the Equalizer versus the Shockmaster.
The Shockmaster.
Ice Train. And who the hell is Charlie Norris? I forgot about this guy. He might as well have been Chuck Norris. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah.
The Equalizer.
The legend, Dave Sullivan.
Yep.
Later known as
Dave
Dave Sullivan.
Advid Sullivan.
Now, I never knew that Harlem Heat went under different names. So when they were calling Booker T something else, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Who is that?
It was really weird because they came in, they were Booker T and Stevie Ray in the Global Wrestling Federation, which I had known them on ESPN at the time. And they came there, they had new names, which I had forgotten about for a while until years like, oh, that's right. They came in, they had different names. And then suddenly they just started calling them Booker T and Stevie Ray again.
So I'm gonna walk the tightrope here. Harlem Heat had a manager also before they got Parker. Actually, no. I think it was with Parker, but instead of the C for Colonel Parker, they were using K. So he was like Colonel Parker. So then it was Cole Kane and Colonel Parker, and it was just
Well, he wasn't their manager until like when he was with Sherry, right? Years later. Like I think the original idea there was a rumor that he was supposed
to manage, and this was during the Bill Watts.
Shockingly enough,
before Bischoff took over.
Horrible.
That didn't make TV.
Yeah.
Oh,
so they were calling Kane because that was rumored that was the original gimmick.
Oh Lord.
And then
boy.
They shifted on from that for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff was a cowboy, and he was a interviewer because he wasn't in his position of power as of yet.
Was he a cow? I don't know. Was he a soul? I didn't know what he was supposed to be here. I don't know what.
He looked like Woody from Toy Story with a drinking problem. That's what he looked like.
I thought it was like a soldier. But like, what is he supposed to be here? Yeah, that was back when. Although, funny enough, by this point, Bischoff actually was the executive vice president.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was it just like right in the beginning? It might have just been
took
right
over
in the beginning.
He took over like earlier that year, but he was still not like the lead announcer. Like he was still doing his usual stuff in the show, which would like introduce the show, interview some people.
Gotcha.
He didn't do as much commentary yet. But yeah, it's weird how.
But I don't think he had that much handle on creative yet. I think it was just the backstage stuff.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, he was taking care of the TV deal. He's the one who got the that infamous Disney deal done that year.
Well, that Disney deal was one of the best things, but I don't want to digress into.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
History of WCW.
We're not going to talk about the negative title reigns and the odd corners they booked themselves into.
So Uncle Fred Ottman,
yes,
as the Shockmaster, is that one of the worst gimmicks of all time?
Oh yeah.
I don't even know what it was supposed to be. Still, even if he didn't fall through the wall, like what exactly we're
why the hell do they use that glitterly stormtrooper?
You got me there. And another person, and Ole Anderson doing his voice like the Shock.
So
like,
Fred Ottman,
Black Scorpion,
the former Typhoon Shockmaster, he is Cody Rhodes' uncle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Cody tells the story of when he was a little boy watching this. He watched. He's like, is that Uncle Fred?
When he fell, yeah.
When he fell. And what was so funny was Sid Vicious just loses it during that whole debut.
That thing is great.
Oh.
He's like, oh God. And he says, I told you, because apparently he said, I told you, because he had told him, I don't think that's going to work. And you hear Bulldog, and he's like, he fell.
I think he said, look at that effa. He fell.
He fell right on his arse, he said.
Fell right on his arse.
Flair's like corpsing. It's just great. Sting's like, oh, Jesus.
Ice Train. There's some rumors about Ice Train.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you never heard this rumor?
I might have. I don't know. I've heard so many things over the years.
Him and Kimberly Page? DDP?
I don't think I've heard that.
Open relationship? Yeah.
Ice Train was, they tried to push him several times. Like he came around here, he was young, and then he came back. Him and Norton had the team. Then he was a limo driver at the end of WCW. Am I Smooth? And that was it. He was not smooth, I guess, enough. But yeah, this match was
about
something.
it. That's about it. We'll put a.
Yeah, we'll stop talking about this nonsense.
On this.
Okay, so suffice to say, the Shockmaster the Shockmasters team won this match pretty quickly.
With a god-awful spine buster.
Yes, the worst.
Oh, my gosh.
Bear hug spine buster.
Oh, my gosh.
If Tony Khan was booking WCW at the time, who has the trios belt? Cole and Kane with who has the trios title during that match? Shockmaster Ice Train and Charlie Norris, or Harlem Heat and the Equalizer? Who has it?
I don't know. Who
Leave
we
us a
compare?
comment. Tony Khan's booking WCW. Who has the trios title?
Who's the equivalent, the 93 equivalent of Kenny and the Bucks? I don't know.
Oh, man. Terry Taylor is the guest referee. I don't know why this was a big deal.
I think they were teasing. They wanted an outside referee because the way that, and it was like it would be a surprise, and it was like, oh, it's Terry Taylor who's bounced back and forth between both companies for the last couple of years at that point.
Terry Taylor will forever be known as the cock, the red rooster, the big cock.
The red rooster.
Terry Taylor was supposed to be the original Mr. Perfect, but then they switched gimmicks at the last minute.
Thank
God. That was a good call.
Yeah.
He was a good wrestler. He just got saddled with bad gimmicks and never could, the tailor-made man, the York Foundation, which I have a soft spot for, but still.
Alexandra York. Yeah. So let's talk about this match. Paul Orndorff I totally forgot the assassin was Orndorff's manager.
I was going to ask.
It was very short-lived.
This sounds like something that only JML would know. Who was the assassin?
He was like a 70s, 80s guy, wrestler.
Yeah.
They were like a tag team. Legend throughout he was like a badass with the mask. But at this time,
we don't know who was under the mask.
About this.
Yes, we do.
Clearly a Watts hire, and they kept him on the payroll.
Yeah. Well, you know who he was, right? Yeah, I know he was. His name was Jody Hamilton, who's the father of Nick Patrick, the referee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he was like, it was originally a tag team of the Assassins, and he just became the Assassin.
Yep.
But he was like at the time, none of us had an idea who this guy was.
Assassin too.
Right. At the time, it was a young Frank, a young JML. We're like, okay, who's this guy?
Yeah. No one cared.
The announcers were like, oh, what's he doing with the Assassin? Like, it was supposed to be a big deal. And the crowd was like, sure.
Listen,
Paul
Orndorff didn't need a manager.
No.
He really didn't. And I never understood in Paul Orndorff's career why he always would get saddled with a manager every so often.
Right.
That's why, like, as much as people are like, man, I wish they had more managers, certain people, they don't need a freaking manager, and they overbooked managers in the 80s, till the mid 90s.
Yeah, I would say like his run with Heenan when he turned on Hogan. Yeah, that'll work, but otherwise, the guy can talk. He doesn't need anybody to talk for him. He's very charismatic. Looks great.
Am I off base for saying Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is one of the most under-talked about, underappreciated?
Absolutely, I was thinking that during this match.
Like I mean, people
time.
talk about him, but it's like even though he's talked about it to me, he's still underrated.
Not enough.
And as we go through some of these 92, 93, 94 WCW pay-per-views, this dude just puts on bangers.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite era of his. Believe it or not, I mean, I was a little younger during his initial heyday, so this era, I was really into him.
My personal favorite Steamboat Flair match is actually the Spring Stampede 1994 match. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, never talked about either, but classic.
And as much credit as we're giving Steamboat, Paul Orndorff was a perfect dance partner here. I thought this was a great match between the two of them.
Yeah,
they always work well together. So it was a nice match. It was nice old school, like hard nosed, good wrestling. It started
slow and it built up as the match went along, and
the crowd really hates Orndorff. They're chanting Paul at him. They love to do that. Steamboat, obviously the ultimate babyface, but I think at one point Schiavone said that he was originally supposed to fight someone else. I'm like, well, I'm glad he fought Orndorff instead.
Yeah.
But
who was he supposed to fight? They said it on the pay-per-view.
Oh, he said it was Yoshi Kwan. Less said the better about Yoshi Kwan. Anyway, rest in peace, Chris Champion. He was originally known as.
Yeah. Paul Orndorff wins via countout.
Yeah, when
he did a good job in this era. Paul Orndorff was a really good mid-carder for WCW for at least a couple of years here.
Yeah, this is right before he started teaming with Roma. So, yeah, he had a nice little run. The ending of this match was a little weird. They had to get over the assassin with his loading the mask thing, which, okay, great.
Yeah.
But it was still a really, really good match. And I enjoyed watching it back.
Yep.
Steamboat's music at this time was underrated as well. I love his theme song here. Go ahead, guys.
Speaking of, Charlie, do you have anything else to say?
No, I'm good.
Speaking of matches that you forgot happened and only happened once, and you're like, man, the stars really aligned for this one. WCW Television Championship on the line. Lord Steven Regal versus the British Bulldog.
Yeah.
Holy crap. What a match. What a match. This was a great match.
This was when Bulldog was built and could still go.
But Regal was like 22, 23 at the time. Yeah. He looked, I mean, he's always looked the same age.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. He's always looked 55. Man, what a performance. They both do cartwheels during this match.
Yeah.
Bulldog obviously was probably on the gas, like literally on the gas.
Yeah.
He was absolutely jacked to the gills. But man.
Yeah, it was really, really good match. And like it did go to a draw. At the time, they would do that a lot. That was obviously Regal's whole thing. He would retain the TV title.
By the draw, that's gimmick.
But this one didn't feel like they were slowed down and like they were trying to stretch it out. They just went. I mean, there was a couple of moments where it slowed down, but they just went full bore for the most part.
It was hard hitting. It was technical. It was nuanced. This was a great.
Yeah.
This is a great match.
It's too bad we never got it again. Like I said, I would have wanted to see more.
Arguably, Regal was one of the best television television champions ever. Him and Arn Anderson, I think, were probably the best two that we've seen.
Sure.
Obviously, Charlie didn't watch enough WCW to know, but
those
are probably the two best, in my opinion.
Yeah, Austin had a good run as well when he was young, but yeah.
Regal, man, another underrated all-time worker. Dude's just unbelievable. And shout out to Bulldog. I mean, that was one of his best matches I think he's ever put on, was this pay-per-view here. He had the right dance partner. So kind of like 92 SummerSlam.
Yeah, and it was just a perfect match. The Battle of Britain, like they said, and he's like the royalty, and he's just calling him. He's just a common guy. It was just perfect.
Yep. Vader came out to spin the wheel. Now we know that the wheel was rigged.
This time
because all of a sudden it's a Texas death match between him and Cactus. So that's decided during the show. It's kind of weird. Like, you would think if the Monday Night War was happening at this time, they had Nitro, and they probably would have revealed what match it was during Nitro. They wouldn't have waited for the pay-per-view. It was probably a missed opportunity, too, that they didn't do it like on WCW Saturday Night to get extra pay-per-view buys. Like, I didn't get the allure of doing the wheel on the show. Like, I would rather have just done the wheel ahead of time so you have people purchasing the show. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I guess the promise is, well, these two are going to have a battle no matter what match it is. But yeah, you're right. It probably would have been a thing to sell that on. You're getting this Texas Death match. But Yeah, it's probably why they never tried this again.
Next match, 2 Hall of Famers. I mean, Dustin's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he will be.
Will be.
Versus stunning Steve Austin.
Great match.
WCW US Championship.
Sure. This is right. Yeah, so Austin at this time they were literally just about to split the Hollywood Blondes. It hadn't aired on TV yet, but
yep.
So they knew he was going to go into this, singles role again. So what a way to start it off here. Him and Dustin
This is Steve Austin, the wrestler.
Yes.
Frank pointed out a sign in the crowd. The sign read, "This is 93." So whoever this person was, they're Nostradamus. Literally said Steve Austin, wrestler of the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, most people at the time thought he was going to be a pretty top guy, but who knew?
Time traveler spotted in the audience.
Yeah, and it's hard to argue against that, even though like his peak came at the end of the 90s. But I mean, who was the top guy?
Yeah.
Who sold more merch? Who drew more people?
People thought based on wrestling he would be the wrestler of the 90s. But it was more when he had to lean in to be charismatic and be the badass that really got him over. So it's crazy to think that this dude was one of the best technical wrestlers for the first 6 or 7 years of his career, then morphed into what he became.
Yeah. Pre-neck injury, yeah.
I was going to say this match really showed, like Samuel said many times in the past on this show, how technical Austin could get.
Yeah. And he was only, I think 4 years into the business at this point.
Yeah.
Prior to the injuries, of course.
And so was Dustin, for that matter. Dustin was still very young here.
Oh, Dustin was pretty green.
Yeah, these two always work well together. They worked a lot. Singles.
WCW... For a good 2, this was the tail end of the Dustin Rhodes push. Towards the tail end.
Sure.
In 94, then he's teaming with his father against the Stud Stable.
Yeah.
Not Stud Stable. What was it? The Bunkhouse Stable.
It was a Stud Stable. You're right. It was a Stud Stable.
Stud Stable with Bunkhouse Buck, Colonel Parker, Dirty Dick Slater. They
had a War Games, yeah.
The War Games match. He kind of lost his luster.
Yeah, and then he gets fired from that initial uncensored pay-per-view because he bled when he was not supposed to bleed, apparently.
Yeah, him and the former Repo Man. Gary Garso.
Then Vince gets a hold of him and whole new evolution.
Yep. The US Championship. What a title. What a history. I love that belt too. One of my favorite titles.
And I particularly like this design they used here. That's what I meant. But you're right. Just the title itself, was always we talked about the TV title, but the US was always the workhorse title. It was treated seriously.
Yeah. I thought this was a good match. They've had better matches though.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand why Charlie think compared to some of their other matches, this was probably the worst, but still a good match, if that makes sense.
Now, did Austin really F up his knee when he took that fall on the outside?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I think he wore the brace after that.
That
was his first significant knee injury, I think.
That's what I figured.
That's where it started. But yeah.
And it's crazy. The Hollywood Blondes were ending, basically.
Yeah.
That tag team was one of my favorites of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They had an 8 or 9 month reign there. That thing could have lasted forever, and there was no payoff. We didn't get an Austin Pillman match on a pay-per-view.
No. Ridiculous.
How does that happen? What are we doing?
Because WCW. It's all makes sense.
Can't argue with that knowledge.
They were together less than a year, but they didn't even want to do it. But they gave their all. Austin credits Pillman for that. You know, he motivated, like, listen, we gotta get matching gear, we gotta have a gimmick, we gotta have this, we gotta that. He bought in.
Yeah.
And even then, as a young man, you know, young fan who was obviously cheering the faces and booing the heels, like I always found something cool about them. You know, they're irritating.
They're number one, the Hollywood Blondes music.
Oh yeah. Now that song was used a lot, but it was perfect for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole camera thing, love that. Used to do that back then. Like I said, probably one of the first heels that I got into.
Yep. WCW Tag Team Championships. The tag team of Two Cold Scorpio, Marcus Alexander Bagwell with Teddy Long.
Teddy Long, yeah.
Teddy Long with the world's longest do-rag on. That do-rag was...
Shout out Teddy.
Oh, man, it was like a tail. It was crazy. You probably could have fit like 4 heads under that do-rag. 4 scalps. Versus the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs with Missy Hyatt. This was like the tail end of the Missy Hyatt run in WCW before hit the fan over there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can read about it. I really don't want to go into
we
it.
don't want to get into it. But yeah. She didn't last much
Crazy
longer.
shenanigans. They had won the belts, I think, like a week before. Like it was like I got really excited.
Yeah.
I was kind of a Scorpio mark.
Sure. When he came in doing those moves,
liked Bagwell. Never really liked Bagwell. And I
I
think as a kid, he was just too baby face.
Yeah.
I didn't know Bagwell wrestled so young over at WCW.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they found him at a Chippendales. No, I'm serious. He wasn't.
Yeah, he first started, and he got like when he started in GWF, he was like doing this basically a stripper gimmick. He had like
He was a stripper.
Best come up story ever.
I'm pretty sure Missy Hyatt actually brought him to WCW, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, he would just be teamed with random people for the next couple of years before, you know.
Yeah, so
he
became WCW Tag Team Champion with 3 different partners: Scorpio, the Patriot, and Scotty Riggs. The Scotty Riggs team gave us the greatest theme song of all time, "The American Males." The American Males. Oh, it is the best. I wish I could play it. Don't want a copyright strike. Charlie, you should listen to it.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. You can even mute your mic and go play it on your phone. Actually, do that. Please do that. Mute. Play it. I want your reaction.
We need to have his live reaction here. Oh, he's gonna do it. Perfect.
We need the live reaction to the American Males.
We'll get back to the match in a second, but this has to be done.
The greatest theme song of all time.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy Hart's singing in the background on that too.
He is.
But it sounds like they try to change his voice a little bit, but oh look, he's doing it. Sorry for the silence, guys.
The silence is golden.
In the comments, let us know what you think about the American Males theme or what other songs you like.
Other WCW themes. Obscure WCW
ones.
themes.
I mean, I liked a lot of their generic, stock music they used. It was pretty good. But
Well, DDP had the best.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Jimmy Hart version. Oh, there we go. It's gonna get stuck in his head now. You'll never forget this song once you hear it. Paired with the video they made.
You want to talk about Chippendale dancers?
Yeah. They did the thing. Yeah, anyways, so while he's here comes Charlie. Okay, let's see his thoughts.
I can't. I can't.
You're gonna be thinking of that the whole day, trust me.
Team America definitely missed out on something there.
Too Cold Scorpio had one of the best theme songs as well.
Oh yeah.
Did it?
That everybody, here comes Too Cold
Oh
Scorpio.
yeah. I heard
Yep.
that.
WCW Slam Jam Volume 1, everybody, check it out.
Oh man.
But yeah,
This is why if me and Frank had trivia against any other team, we would probably just annihilate them. We have so much obscure wrestling knowledge. Is just
it's almost embarrassing,
it's
actually. But
embarrassing.
not really, but
it's
is.
an embarrassment of riches.
I shouldn't know this much stuff.
Let me tell you, you would think a tag team match involving the Nasty Boys would be horrific. This was a really good tag team match, and the crowd was so into it.
Sure.
So into it.
Yeah.
The Nasty Boys were awesome as heels.
Yeah.
I never understood the infatuation with turning them face and making them like the cookie cutter babyface Nasty Boys. That never worked for them. Charlie, you go up first. What do you think?
Too Cold Scorpio and Bagwell could go, but it was definitely a good back and forth in this.
Missy was a good heater.
Thank God the ref didn't see the first hot tag, because Too Cold Scorpio handled that hot tag horrifically. But when he got the hot tag, when he actually tagged him, it was good. He had a good hot tag.
Missy Hyatt was a good heater for the Nasty Boys too.
Definitely.
Oh, me. Yeah. Yeah, she was. Actually, it was a good way. Like you said, they had turned face before they left the Fed. And then they came in with Missy, which was actually a perfect fit. Or as the announcer called her, their escort. And Jesse Ventura. But
was part of her lawsuit too.
Was that Buffer who did it? Was it Gary? I can't remember who announced this.
I think it was Buffer.
I just remember he said with their escort.
Yeah, that was Buffer.
Jesse Ventura just quips off. Well, I'm not going to say it, but okay, yeah. Both teams, yeah. This was a good fit, like you said. They're perfect as heels. They had a good face team. Scorpio was obviously always good. Like you said, when he came to WCW, he was blowing my mind with some of the moves he was doing.
That 450.
I thought he was going to be like the next big guy after that. Just seeing the 450 alone.
Yeah,
they work real well here. With the crowd is hot. They had just went. Well, I think the night before it aired the title change, but it had been like 2 weeks or so earlier when they taped. But it was like it was probably a smart way, because I think they were originally just going to have a match here. That made this match more heated. You know, they had just won the title, so the crowd was even more behind them.
If Scorpio had debuted in this era, he'd be huge. He'd be absolutely huge. Like, he would be a top guy.
Yeah.
Someone would have to talk for him. He was never strong on the mic, but that dude, he could go.
Everything else.
And the other thing is he had he still has. He just smokes a lot of pot. And he couldn't keep a job because he smoked a lot of pot.
Makes you wish they didn't saddle him with Flash Funk in WWE and they gave him Too Cold Scorpio, but
they ended up giving him Scorpio towards the tail end as a job squatter.
When it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I was pretty disappointed when he came in, and that's what we got out of him, because I was always a big fan of his. But this match was good. Nasty's win the title back. They get like you said, Missy was great, interfering. She takes a bump off the apron. They hit him with one of their boots. Yeah, it was a fun tag match. It was like a classic tag formula. Always works. Bagwell was decent at this point. He had a couple years under his belt, but he kept up with Scorpio, except for the dancing, which I wish he didn't do. But Teddy Long's like, what is going on here, guys? But
Teddy Long involved in a tag team match. Who would have figured?
Tag team match, bro. Yeah, he was always a great manager of tag teams. Obviously, with Doom for many years, and then they would just put him with random people. But
he managed Doom, right?
He managed Doom.
Well, originally it was woman, right?
Yeah, it was originally woman. Then they unmasked. They went up with Teddy. He had the skyscrapers.
Yep.
He had
Johnny. He had one of those ice train tag teams.
Later on, he had Ice Train. He mismanaged random people in the Nitro era, like Craig Pittman, Sergeant Craig Pittman. He managed them.
Oh, dude, that guy was a jobber. Speaking of non-jobbers,
yes,
obviously Nasty Boys win the belts back, which, I mean, they were the best tag team at the time, name brand tag team that WCW had.
Yeah.
So we had a Sid Vicious Sting match, which on paper you'd be like, yes, yes.
Not so much in reality.
Not so much. Sting tried his hardest to get a good match out of Sid, but Sid just was not given that night.
It was like, and it was their second match at Hollywood Havoc. Like 3 years earlier, it was like the main event. But I think this was probably the better of the two matches. But not that it's saying much. I know. I mean, I love Sid. I'm a Sid apologist. I'll always mark out for Sid. Never going to say he was Never will say he was a 3-star wrestler.
Sid was more concerned with softball than wrestling.
Yeah.
Really?
It's sad because he always looked great. The fans loved him, even though he had weird mic skills, but he always got stuff over. But if he put some more into his wrestling, I think maybe.
I will always remember the In Your House promo where he's like, "Can we run it back?" And you're like,
"We're
no,
live,
man,
pal.
This is live."
JR's like, "We're live, pal." Love that. Yeah, this match was. They tried. Like I said, they brawled around. Sting tried his best.
Underrated manager, Colonel Rob Parker.
Now, did he really mess up at the end of the match?
Huh?
When he grabbed the foot, did he really mess up at the end of the match, or was that?
That was planned. They wanted to turn.
Bad.
They wanted to turn Sid babyface,
and they did.
So he could face Vader.
Gotcha.
But the Arn Anderson Sid fight happened. Sid gets fired, and
they go back to Flair.
Then we go back to Flair and Vader, which ends up being
great. Man.
Great. If we do Starrcade 93, which we probably will, you know what? Executive decision. Executive decision. No fan poll. You're doing 93 Starrcade.
Okay.
We are doing 93 Starrcade. That whole night was built.
Don't you already have a
between
fan poll up?
Huh?
Don't you already have a fan poll up?
It's okay. We have to record a couple episodes, so
we'll still do that one. Whatever that.
We do whatever the fan polls will be up for another one, but no fan poll after this episode.
It's a nice segue after what we're talking about right here. So
yeah.
As far as what Charlie was saying about the finish, I think they brought it up. Like, no, that was supposed to be the finish. It just didn't look great because Parker was kind of looking. It was supposed to be that he was out of it because he got knocked down.
Yeah,
he was clearly looking at both of them, and you can see like there was no way why he would mistake Sid's leg for Sting. So it looked kind of wonky.
I remember them saying something like that.
And that was the thing for the whole night. A lot of the finishes were undecisive or just didn't look right.
Yeah. Sting rolls him up. So, Sting gets to win. Sid starts a face turn that unfortunately doesn't go anywhere because him and Arn decided to have a double stabbing incident.
Yeah, literally stabbing.
Bad, too, to the point where I think Vader told the story once where he saw was it Arn or Sid? It was really bad. Like, it wasn't even like a mild stab. Like, they were both very hurt.
Now, when you have it's crazy the amount of talent on this show. I mean, we've rolled through several matches and Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, legend after legend. The next match, do you want to explain what the WCW International Title is, Frank?
I'll do my best.
To Charlie, because he asked me.
So a year prior, WCW had re-entered to agreement with the NWA. They brought back the tag title. They had the tag title tournament, which they kind of unified with the WCW tag titles later on.
Okay.
They did the NWA title tournament, and it was originally
Wyndham.
No, it wasn't originally Wyndham. It was past Wyndham. Won it from Muto, who had won it from Sasaki.
Yeah.
Sasaki. And then Wyndham Wonderhoff Muda, he loses it to Flair, which it was still considered the NWA title at the time. But later that summer, they kind of they just basically their agreement ended. Supposedly, it was a lot to do with when I brought up Bischoff doing the Disney tapings. They taped 4 months of Worldwide in advance, and they had to basically give away title changes that were going to happen. So thankfully, so the internet, as young as it was, there was results out there, and the NWA heard about the fact that they were showing I think Rude with the belt before Flair had even won it.
Yep.
So they got really upset that they're booking titles because at the time the NWA board had to agree. The commission had to agree on who was going to have the title, and they were doing this without permission. So they got into a whole legal thing, and they stopped supporting it. But obviously WCW still owned the belt. Flair had the title. He loses it to Rude, but they didn't really have a name for it. They were calling it the Big Gold Belt. Or here it was the belt that signifies I don't know, how do they put it? It signifies the World Heavyweight Champion or something ridiculous.
Yeah, they made it very confusing to the point that I thought that WCW had 2 world champions at this.
They kind of did. It would bounce. And then finally what would happen was they had the board of WCW International, which was just a bunch of random people, and including the first appearance of the future Sonny Ono as the Japanese contingent of the NWA, where they basically recognize Rude as the international world champion.
With President Nick Bockwinkel.
Nick Bockwinkel was there, and it wound up on Sting, and then Sting faced Flair in a unification match at a Clash of Champions, and then Flair turned heel at that point, and he lost he took that belt, lost it to Hogan, and that would be the title for the rest of WCW. Would just be that belt, obviously.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a little complicated, but especially if you don't know the history, it's very confusing here.
Yeah, and why didn't Vader come out with the championship?
Because that's Vader.
Vader probably forgot it or something. I don't know. I know it wasn't a title match, but Vader probably just wasn't in the mood to find it. He just said, He probably left it in his locker room and said, I'm not going back. I'm just going to take a guess. Yeah, it was weird because he's WCW World Champion, but you have the World Heavyweight. It was kind of like what we'd have later on in WWE with the 2 titles, except the fact that one of them didn't really have a name or any significance other than it was just a belt.
Yeah.
But looking at it, looks like the more important title. So you would think, Rude's the champ, but Vader's technically still world champ here. So yeah, thankfully they just said, hey, we're just going to take this belt and make it the world title again, which is fine with me. Even though I did like that WCW title in the 90s it was only around a couple of years. It was pretty nice looking, but it wasn't the big gold, obviously.
Terry Taylor, special enforcer.
Oh yeah, what a job he did, huh?
Right.
Another
the entire time Ventura is just ribbing him on commentary.
Another terrible finish here, but really great match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys,
Charlie I didn't think so.
Charlie did not like this match.
I thought their chemistry was off, but
I thought it was good.
It was pretty good. Flair's a baby face is always weird, but
I'll take away the great. It was a good match.
Okay.
Here's why I don't think it meshed. Flair was never a great baby face. He wasn't that's not his role. His role is the shit stirrer.
He's not comfortable doing it. He never liked being a baby face. You could tell.
Rick Rude's a shit stirrer. When you put it just doesn't work.
They're both got the gimmick, the ladies' bed. They're both. It's very similar. Even though Rude
doesn't work.
Rude was a little more toned down in WCW with that, but it was too similar. I mean, his gear was great here. He had Flair and Fifi in the front and the Halloween stuff in the back. Yeah, Rude always had a great gear.
For that thorn in the side.
Rude always spent well on his gear. He always made sure he had something for every event.
Yeah.
Rick Rude, man, what could have been?
Yeah.
I mean, a Hall of Fame career, but
that
injuries,
the injury he would get, it's too bad.
His untimely demise as well.
I think he was trying to make a comeback at the time too.
Yeah, he was.
It was funny. He got his biggest renown in his WWE stint, but here at WCW he was presented as a top guy more.
Top guy.
Serious heel. He still had the gimmicky thing, but he toned it down. He made it work. and the crowd really hated him. So
the injury
perfect deal
that he ended up having, it would have been interesting had he not got hurt. We would have actually got a good Rude and Hogan feud at some point.
Yeah,
that we didn't
man.
get in WWE.
He was at the time he was injured. He was having this feud with Vader. It was kind of like he was kind of teasing a face turn. But I think obviously we would have got him. When Hogan won the title, that would have been a natural program to go to.
Yeah, instead of the Masked Man debacle with Brother Budai. I don't think Rude would be covering 94 Starrcade unless it fan polls and wins.
Come on, you don't want to talk about Mr. T fighting Kevin Sullivan?
Oh, God.
Triple H's only WCW pay-per-view appearance.
Winner by DQ, still WCW International World Heavyweight Champion.
He stole the brass. That was a little weird. Wonky finish with the two refs. But Rude retains.
Texas Deathmatch time.
Here we go.
Woo. Vader. What a freaking badass. Let me tell you. The WCW presentation of Vader compared to the WWF is night and day. Night and day. We've spoke about this on various episodes. WWF booked Vader as a chicken shit heel. Why would a man that size be running away from a fight? It never made sense to me at all. This dude was just ready to pounce on anyone and everything that was in his way. Harley Race is the manager. Added to his presentation, you have one of the greatest wrestlers of all time as your manager. And didn't really need to be his mouthpiece, but just the presentation, the package went well. Then you have Cactus Jack, and this is Foley, where he would just have done anything to get over at this point.
This feud was something. The matches were great.
The matches were great. This was the payoff to the German, his ear thing.
Well, no, that happened after this.
Oh, this didn't happen after this.
Yeah, it was the payoff of their feud. They did a whole angle where he power bombs Cactus on the concrete.
Yes,
they do those silly things where he has amnesia, but they cut it short.
Finding Cactus.
They cut it short, and they just basically said, "Oh, he was just messing with him," which made no sense. He comes back, but they finally meet here. The point is, he doesn't care about the title. He just wants to take out Vader. You don't need to say much.
You want to talk about Texas Death? This was a Texas death match.
Right.
We're talking about heavy hitting blows from both sides.
Oh, definitely.
Bodies Vader. On the line.
The punches in the corner, and that was purposely done. As you see, he purposely, like Foley always talked about in his books, that was like his favorite thing to do. Just punch me right here above the eyebrow, I'll bleed, and he did. He was bleeding all over the place.
Oh yeah,
hard way, but yeah, these two guys don't care about working stiff, so they were perfect together. And Vader was a monster, like you said. And it made sense because Cactus was so crazy. It was like, you think he could, believably beat him because he'll take any kind of punishment. Getting up. So, and Vader was just known for smashing people. So Cactus would just keep getting up. And it was just like, that was the perfect opponent for him to be as a babyface to fight a monster.
And they had a good off-screen relationship. They were traveling buddies. So they trusted each other enough to just lay it in, and that's what occurred.
These chair shots, jeez. This
is one of Vader's best matches ever. We'll have someone in the comments that says, New Japan or All Japan Wrestling Vader was the best version of Vader. Great. If I want to watch a VHS tape that looks like scrambled porn, I'll go and watch it. I won't, because I don't, the quality of those tapes, but at this time, you're not going to be able to tell what the hell's going on. I believe you if you say the new Japan, All Japan Vader is the best. the most obscure Vader is the best, but the best in the prime time where there was actual some eyeballs on it is this Vader. Frank?
Yeah.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to follow scrambled porn, but have at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just talking about Vader alone. This run that he had in WCW came in, and he would just destroy the jobbers. He literally broke one of their backs by accident with a powerbomb. That's how bad he felt. Bad. Like, I know Foley talked about it in his book. He was very upset about it. This match, like this is probably one of his best matches. I would agree on that. Like all the matches with Sting were always good. They were great opponents. This, like I said, later we'll cover the Flair stuff. Also very good, which worked. Like I said, Flair's not a great baby face, but if he has the right opponent, story, and Vader was just like, you put him in there with anybody at the time, you have a good match. He would have good matches with Bossman when he came over, or / Guardian Angel, whatever you want to call him.
That's funny.
He had some good big man matches. Vader could go, and he would, that moonsault he would hit. It was insane.
I'm gonna put Frank on the spot. Name me all the iterations of Big Boss Man in WCW.
Oh, in WCW alone?
I named them last.
Yeah, so he started as Big Bubba. Well, in the NWA, he was Big Bubba Rogers.
Well, no. Start WCW.
Okay, WCW when he came out. Okay, so he comes over wearing basically his first appearance. He's wearing his Boss Man shirt with that covered up.
Yep.
He's just the boss. Man, is he big? Was a joke because they would say that in commentary. Oh, look at a boss. Man, is he big? But he would then morph because how can I put this? Nick Bockwinkel stripped him of the title, the boss, which in reality was Vince sued them for essentially stealing the character.
Yep.
So they had him go through these vignettes where he joined the actual Guardian Angels in New York City. So he became the Guardian Angel. Then he goes back to Big Bubba. He turns heel on Sting, and he's wearing like these suits and stuff again. Then he's in like the Dungeon of Doom. He goes to the NWO. He gets kicked out, and he just goes back to being simply Ray Traylor.
But do you remember the promo?
Which promo are you talking about? We talking about
the Ray Traylor promo.
Oh, when he said I'm going to be Ray Traylor when he left the NWO, you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah,
I kind of remember that.
It was the word. Oh man, it made him look so bad. It made him look like some chump. He was like, he was like crying. He's like, and I'm sick of this. I'm not.
Man, he was involved in some bad stuff at this point.
I'm not Big Bubba. My name is Ray Traylor. And
this was like a year after the
I think
feud
Paul
with
and Dash
Tenta.
were like, yeah, you're Ray Trailer Park Trash.
Oh yeah, that's what they call it. That was like in the heels of his feud with Tenta, where he's like, I'm not a fish, I'm a man.
Man.
I'm not a fish, I'm a man.
Yeah, because
when the shark.
Okay.
That was leading into that Bash at the Beach show. Yeah, when he denounced the shark.
I was telling him all
I'm
the
not a
gimmicks.
fish.
And I was like, it's funny
Poor
that they
guy.
had a match against each other at Bash at the Beach because these guys had more gimmicks in WCW than anyone else. And partly the reason why they both got their jobs to begin with was because of Hogan pushing for them to be signed by Bischoff. And they both of them never found their footing.
No.
It's crazy.
And it's funny because right after that the whole Ray Traylor thing, he goes back and he's Vince's security guard, serious big boss man heel, and he's like at the top spot again.
Yep.
Only Vince knew how to book him like as a top guy, apparently. Is the answer here.
Charlie.
Yo.
WCW Vader. This match.
You did what you sought out to do. Show me WCW Vader at his best, and I was impressed. It is completely night and day between WCW Vader and WWE Vader.
Yeah, and it's so weird, considering you would have thought this would have been Vince's wet dream to have this Vader, in WWF, and then they book him as a chicken shit heel. And
but do you think that was also partially because he was injured in WWE?
Well, he wasn't the same at that point. He was beat. He came in injured. He wasn't exactly the same. He was starting to break down, but.
You think that's why they booked him so shitty? Because
I just didn't think. I think because he was a WCW guy, they wanted to change. Allegedly, they wanted to change his name. They wanted to just call him the Mastodon.
Oh God.
Vince with he can't have guys just like
Yeah.
Cactus Jack can be Cactus Jack. He's got to have, although he obviously made Mankind work, but yeah, I don't know. You would have thought, like you said, he likes big guys, but this guy can. I mean, he had Yoko on top as a champion heel champion for a year. If Vader had been there at this point instead of in WCW, and if he booked him, he could have been in that spot. But
And Vince, he'll always beat a name into your vernacular like a dead horse.
Yeah.
How many times would he say the Mastodon, the Mastodon, the Mastodon?
He wanted people to think of him as that because Vader wasn't his creation. That's just how he is. How he always was.
What would you rate this show as a whole? We'll start with Fire Frank.
Okay, so we're rating this on a 10 of
a 10 thumbs
scale?
Up, thumbs in between.
Oh, okay. It's tough because there's a couple things on here just like it's just you can skip it.
The trios match.
Yeah, the trios match. I would say I'm leaning up. It's maybe in the middle, leading up. That main event really, is the best match on the entire show.
Why wasn't the television title match like the opening match?
I don't know.
Easily could have been.
It's funny. They would sometimes have some really good openers, but they would always seem to put the weirdest match on first. Yeah, like most of the Regal's TV title events would be perfect openers.
Yeah,
and they would just put on this random. Yeah, if we could get rid of the trios match off the show, it'd probably instantly make the show even a little bit better. I'll say thumbs in the middle, but leaning up a little bit because of that strong main event. The tag title match was fun. Some solid work with, like I said, Regal and Bulldog, the Orndorff and Steamboat. So yeah, I'll probably somewhere in the middle, but a little higher than a 5, obviously.
Charles,
be a 7.
I agree. Right about there.
Thumbs up.
No, like tilted.
Yeah.
Tilted. So 3/4 of a thumb.
Yeah, 3/4.
I'll give it a thumbs up. Let's compare this to some of the 93, 94 WWF pay-per-views we were getting. This was actually significantly better than any of those shows.
I'm sure, yeah.
This was a better roster than what WWE had.
Yeah, they were going through a tough time then. Yeah, it was a better roster, a lot of stars, a lot of good workers.
I really enjoyed the show.
It's a fun show to watch.
Really fun. Let us know in the comments what you thought of our show and our shows in general by commenting. Like, share, subscribe. Charles?
Like JML just said, like, share, subscribe, comment. It's all free. It all helps us in the long run.
I guess Frank says the same thing.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Please.
All right.
Like this video.
Good night. Good luck. Farewell. Sayonara. Rigging the pole or no pole. Starcade 94. See you later.